In England, a protest movement was formed to denounce the Congo atrocities. Its leader, one Edmund Morel, said that Conrad's novella was valuable in exposing those horrors. But Conrad kept his distance from the reformers. He did not consider himself in any way political. The reformers and the journalists focused on the victims of this terror, doing all they could to advertise and stop it. Conrad took a different tack and focused on the colonist.
Then he goes deeper and deeper and deeper and realizes and makes you realize that, in fact, what is maybe a story about exploitation in the jungle is also a story about the human condition, is also a story about the relationship between the West and the rest.
Like Conrad, Marlow returns to Europe a sadder, wiser man in serious need of recuperation. It is a full year before he goes back to what he calls the sepulchral city, Brussels in real life, to give Kurtz's fiancée the man's personal papers. She wants to know about the end, his last words.
"Repeat them," she said in a heartbroken tone. I was on the point of crying at her. "Don't you hear them?" The dusk was repeating them in a persistent whisper all around us. The horror, the horror. I pulled myself together and spoke slowly. The last word he spoke was, "Your name."
Truth was so terrible that whilst he could carry the burden of it as the kind of last disciple of the man, he didn't want to offer it to others because they wouldn't understand.
You keep your mouth shut, you carry on living your own life, you don't tell people, unless you want to be terribly unpopular, that their prosperity is based on the exploitation and death of other cultures and other countries and other communities.
So the lie endured. Traffic flows unconcerned today around the magnificent buildings and monuments in the center of Brussels, which date from that time.
These were built with money that was sucked out of the Congo in a period of very, very brutal slave labor. I think that is part of the horror that Marlow is talking about in the novel.
Joseph Conrad had looked deeply into that jungle, into the nature of things, and had understood that what he had seen would rise again and again. And Marlow had decided not to even try explaining it to Kurtz's fiancée, because, as he tells his audience, it would have been too dark altogether.